The dust has settled on Los Angeles, and let me tell you, this just got done at like 2:30 a.m. EST, which is mind-boggling for a day two to actually happen. But we're here to see what the results are. Don't be like 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button. Make sure you guys smash it so you guys don't miss out on more Oz content. Top 64. This was a huge diverse format. And I'm actually extremely happy that we got the chance to see this. So for top 64, we had 33 cash money dollar bills, the deck, taking up 51%, which is actually pretty amazing when you look at your top cut conversion rate. You had 7 Naturia runic decks, putting it as the second highest seat here for top 64. Sprite follows it up with 5 variants. For what we do know, there was 1 Adventure, 2 Tri-Brigade variants. We also had 3 branded decks. We had 2 Flaunderies, 2 Mathmech, 2 Drytron, and then we had 10 others. Now this is where things get very interesting in my personal opinion. We had 1 Kaiju deck, as they list it. I don't know if it's like a Fairy Tail Luna control deck, but if you are very familiar with how that deck has structurally worked in the past, you hand your opponent a Kaiju Fairy Tail Luna, bounce it back. I look forward to seeing that. We had Runic Plunder Patrol, which that deck has been a very rogue contender. Adventure Scareclaw holds on in the rogue category as well. We had 1 Trap Tricks. Even Tier Elements made it into this event, which is amazing. We also had Punk as well, Marincess, Sun Avalon Rika, Sky Striker, and only 1 Tenyi Sword Soul actually made its way on in to the top 64. But as you're looking like through this row category, this is huge diversity. This is what you want to see in a format here, where you can see huge giant spread of decks actually be viable here and actually give players the chance to actually play the game. Now, as we go on into top 32 here, you're going to have 19 Kashtira, so this is 60% turnover now. You had 3 Sprite, 2 Naturia Runic, 2 Mathmech, so things are really getting shaven off here. And then in the other category here, you have 1 branded deck. Oh man, branded is now in the other category. Adventure Scareclaw, still doing its thing here, which is good. Trap Tricks, still holding on here, which is also very good. Flaunderies, Tearlaments, and Sun Avalon Rika. The fact that you have Adventure Scareclaw and Flunderies in tier, you know, some of the former tier 1 combatants out here still showcasing some of the power that they've had in the format is extremely awesome. And once again, you want to see that turnover here. Now, top 16 is where things, the hope for Rogue starts to fade away. This is where you have 69% Kashtira, aka 11 Kashtira players have managed to take over. It is the hopes and dreams of Rogue. Oof. Flaunderies still holding on in top 16, which is good. We have a Tri-Brigade Sprite variant doing its thing here. Sun Avalon Rika still holding on out here. Naturia Runic also doing its thing. Once Naturia Runic starts doing its grind game, I think a lot more players kind of get devastated by what that deck can actually do. Once again, when you start gridlocking your opponents and your opponents start to have these issues, unable to kind of recover, it's really sad. And then we also had 1 Mathmech here in the wrap-up for top 16. It's really sad to see the amount of Rogue vanishing down, but you are starting to see Kashtira take over in terms of the numbers here. But we proceed into top 8 here. Now, for top 8 at this stage, you had 4 Kashtira, so we're back to a 50% representation. 1 Flaunderies, 1 Tri-Brigade Sprite, 1 Rika, and 1 Naturia Runic. So, not too bad. Now we proceed into the top 4, where you have double Kashtira, 1 Flaunderies. Flounder still holding on, by the way, here. Alright. And we also had Naturia Runic. And then your grand finals were Kashtira versus Naturia Runic, with Kashtira winning the whole event. Am I disappointed by the grind out? No. But this does prove how, when you look at the way that this format is right now, it's not a total unwinnable, thing. I know a lot of people look at this format and they're like, oh my gosh, Kashtira, like, zone locking is a very unfun experience. More and more players have definitely figured out how to play Kashtira at this format. That's one big thing that I do want to say here is, while we look at this format and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is so crazy. I mean, yes, it is. But once again, Kashtira, for all of the tier 1 decks that we've had, it has been by far one of the most fair experiences that players have had the chance to deal with. And I do think as we see this format continue to develop here, Cyberstorm Access coming up here on the horizon, we will see a potential shift with Purely and whatnot coming. We'll have to wait and see. Let's pass on over to what deck list we have. I think in terms of like interesting things out of the NA version of the 250 is this Raid Raptor deck. Just kidding, this is Kashtira, with like 2 Raid Raptor cards in it here. We're playing the Raider's Wing and the Tribute Lanius here, along with the Arsenal Falcon in here, especially some of the level 4 Wing Beast monster from the deck. This is actually kind of interesting because like this gives you access to like Baguska and things like that. This isn't really something that I'd seen people do. Obviously, like most people just kind of chuck this up and was like, we don't have the barrier statue anymore. There's not really much of an inclusion point to really try with this. And this build actually was successful. You have our defensive options, the Chalices, Book of Moons, a little bit more retroactive responsive with the Dark World and Amours, and we have Econs here. But overall, this is by far one of the more interesting options of, how tackable your slots are in this deck and how much you can really adjust to the metagame. Next up here, we have standard versions of this deck. Now keep in mind, we are playing the little kaijus here. Basically, your entire game plan is go ahead and tribute over your opponent's monster. The old Arise Heart Pass method that people have been trying to get away with here for months. Actually, it's just been toppled with this. I see that we do have Book of Moons for defensive options. We are also playing 1 Cosmic Cyclone in here as well. I do like the fact that we do have a defensive option with this here. The 1 Ogre with the 1 Preparation, we've been seeing that show up for months. This build opted to actually side enemy controllers as well. This is going to give you some very, very strong options to disrupt the opponent, which is pretty good. And then, of course, we do see Dimension Shifter showing back up to do its job. And then we have Thrust, but no evenly matched for this build. I do like what... I don't know. I kind of miss evenly for these builds. Next up here, we have Despia. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to tell you about Despia in terms of this deck, Crossout Detonators become a very, very strong option. I straight up see that we have just opted to play the Gimmick Puppet Nightmare in here as well. Honestly, the Gimmick Puppet's going to put you in such a good position in the main deck. It is 1 more brick for sure, but I mean, expulsion locking your opponent game 1 is going to be something that they're not going to see coming at the cost of 1 more brick. Obviously, because of the cross-out, we do get to play things like Nibiru as like smaller 1-ofs to kind of round things out. Yeah, I don't see anything else too crazy in the main. I do, obviously, we're reciting the Jinzo down here. We have Dark Rollers, Evenly, so we have 1-dimensional barrier, so we can actually cross it out if our opponent starts to get the wrong idea here, or think that they're getting, advantage. But overall, this looks very, very strong. And we also have Cash Money Dollar Bills, more variations of this deck. I mean, this was the biggest represented deck out of the event. Of course, you're going to have larger representation for this. This build's opting for Book of Eclipses, Econs, and of course, Lances for defensive options. We actually have talents here to take the opponent's stuff. We're opting to not play any thrust in this build, which is kind of interesting. We have the Contact Seas, Dimension Shifters, and Ghost Spells. Holy crap, this build definitely did not care. And we're also playing the Baron down here. I've seen the Baron kind of show up a little bit. Obviously, Tuner plus, level 7 get you access to it for the people that are like, I don't, how do you make that? It's as easy as that. All right, that is everything that's out for NA. We're filming this really, really late at night, so more will kind of filter out throughout the day. Be patient. I'll see what shows up, what needs to be talked about, and we'll go from there. So please, leave a comment down below what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.